Welcome everybody. This is Lisa Burley of Soulmates and Suitcases. We have Scott and I. This is my husband, Scott Burley. This is episode 22, and we're going to have an amazing conversation with an amazing lady that you can see on your screen right now, Fay Carnahan. I'm going to introduce Fay, and we're going to kind of deep dive into a conversation and it's kind of a casual conversation, but we do have some questions ready for Faye today. So welcome, Faye. We
Thank
are
you.
we are joined by Fay Carnahan. She is a registered Canadian reflexology therapist and passionate advocate for holistic wellness, personal growth, and empowered living. For nearly 30 years now, Faye has been on a powerful journey of transformation, one rooted in healing, self-discovery, and a deep commitment to change. Her path has led her through sobriety, therapy, body work, and the cutting edge of genetic wellness, all grounded in the belief that true health starts from within. And Scott and I definitely back you on that one. Phase approach is built on the foundations of oxygen. So something that's very interesting that hopefully will be part of our discussion today, hydration, nutrition, movement, and mindset. And she's here to show how even small intentional steps can lead to profound change. Now, Faye and Scott have known each other for, I think, over a decade or so,
Mhm.
kind of united for their shared passion for growth and their importance to listening with love for sure. Today's conversation promises to be a meaningful one and inspiring look into the power of turning life experience into purpose. So welcome, Faye.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, we're
It's great
excited.
to be here.
Yeah. And we're both in the same province in Canada. So it's kind of nice to be on the same time zone with someone.
That's a good thing.
Good thing.
We've actually had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning once to do a podcast or
I
so.
have no doubt about that. Yeah, I've done that a few times.
We've had a wide range of people, so we're excited to share your story, share your journey, have some conversations. And one of the reasons I know why we have people like yourself on is because we align a lot with what you believe and how you live and how you look at life. So maybe we'll get started with the first question.
So, Faye, you've spoken about the fact that your journey started about 30 years ago.
Hmm.
Can you give us an idea what transpired to bring that into play?
So these are going to be really personal answers,
Hmm.
if that's okay. I'm
That's
sure it
perfect.
is.
Yeah.
100%.
Um, so I got pregnant in 1997. It was a long years ago. It was about 30 years ago. I got pregnant. And I was never supposed to have kids. I had three operations telling me I was never going to have kids, and there's always a story behind the story. Um, but I got pregnant, and everything was going well. People were excited. Some didn't believe me, and because life was on this track, and then I was heading on that track. So it was an exciting time. And about 16 weeks, I went in for my ultrasound, and the doctor came in and um, told me that I had a molar pregnancy. And so I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what was happening. And I had to go in. They set me up for an operation right away. And when he was telling, so a molar pregnancy is the fetus. I actually had a fetus and it basically turns into a tumor.
Hmm.
Um, so I had gone in and they told me that there was a high chance that I was going to have a hysterectomy. And it was devastating because I so badly wanted to be a mom. And I'd finally gotten pregnant and then this was happening. So I went and we had all that stuff done, but when I came out, I had all my parts. So that was a saving grace.
Hmm.
And they told me I couldn't get pregnant for a year. And at the time, I used to fish. I was a commercial fisherman, and my husband was a logger. So we come out anyway. You know how stuff goes. So I got pregnant within 3 months. And so I went to the doctor because I wasn't feeling good. I went into the doctor. They knew I was pregnant right away. They did the test. And they had from the doctor's office, he had set up an appointment to go for me to have an abortion right away. I was going from point A to point B. And he sat me down and gave me this huge long story. And at the end, he asked me if I had any questions. And my husband was with me. And I said, no, I don't have any questions. I said, but I'm not doing it. And so we went down that track, and he kept telling me, my husband was horrified. And the doctor kept telling me I wouldn't survive this. And there was a chance, a small chance that my baby would survive, but I definitely wouldn't.
Mm.
And who knew if the baby was going to survive? And I said, I don't really care about any of all that. I was born a woman. Our job is to reproduce. You've been telling me for years I could never have kids. I got pregnant. That didn't go very well, but now I got pregnant the second time. If God didn't want me to get pregnant, I wouldn't be pregnant. So I don't care what happens next, but I'm not getting an abortion.
Mm.
My daughter, Jessie Jane, is that baby.
Mm.
She's the biggest, brightest. I get emotional about that story. Apparently that hasn't gone away. So I went through, of course, with that pregnancy. I did everything by the book. She was the perfect book all the way along, right? I had to do a lot of tests. It wasn't very, I had to get blood tests once a week for the whole pregnancy. But she was fine. The pregnancy went fine. She came out fine. She's bright. She's beautiful. She's, full of life. And I knew as soon as I had her, and you're looking at them for the first time, and there it was. That was it. That's We're going to change. I know what I was made of. I just didn't know how to be that, right? I grew up in a different track altogether. So that was the beginning.
Wow.
That
And so
was
looking back now at that sort of challenging time in your life or making that big decision, what did mindset mean to you? Like looking back at that now.
I can versus I can't. I know I can. And that part has always been a part, that thing has always been a part of me. I didn't know it at the time. It's a mindset. I just knew when I had something in my gut, I'm doing it. And no matter what I had in my head to do, in my gut that to do, I did it. I've pulled off, I don't even know how many things on a wing and a prayer, having no idea. I just knew in my gut what I wanted, right? I'm having this baby. Screw you, screw everybody. I don't care, right? And I'm having this baby, and that's where that got me. There's lots of stories I have like that. I just didn't know it was mindset. Like that we have a name for everything now.
Yeah, we do. That's for
Yeah.
sure. And did you, during that like 9 months or whatever that time frame when you were told initially, so 6 months maybe, do you remember if you actually saw your ending? Like you said, I'm having a baby, or did you worry a lot through that whole pregnancy?
No, I knew I was going to have her. I took care. I'm protective.
Mhm.
Let's use that word. I'm very protective. And so it didn't matter what was going on in my world, what came around me in my life. And like, I'm just like, this is, you're hunkered down, holding on for dear life. I'm having this baby. I don't care what happens. Right. And it's more like that.
Sounds like a lot of grit to me.
It was a whole
Knew
lot
you
of
were doing
grit.
it.
It's
Yeah.
also, I find it amusing how over the years, how it changes. Like in the beginning, we almost think it's stubbornness.
Mhm.
And then after we've been around for a while, it's like, no, no, we made that happen.
Yeah.
It's not stubbornness. It's like we just seen it through. And now, does it always work out that way? No, but most of the
No,
time it does.
it does. I truly believe that if you want something bad enough in your gut, that'll come to pass,
Yeah.
right? If I can't get it in my gut, it just doesn't happen. And for me, it's always been like that. So now I know a bunch of new words and I know
Yeah.
I know our process, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. And so how old is Jessie Jane? Jessie
27.
27.
She just turned 27.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, lots of lessons can be learned from these pivotal kind of moments in our life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you emphasize the importance of oxygen, hydration, nutrients, and mindset for someone that's starting their journey. Where do you recommend they begin?
Mindset.
That's the big one, right?
Yeah. So I wrote this out. It is the mindset. People will always follow, people will always follow through with who they believe they are. And a belief is a feeling of certainty about what something means,
Mm,
right? So when you look at, I always go back and I look at like who I believed I was. I don't know about anybody else, but I didn't believe it was very good.
mm.
So what did I say? What if what you believe was wrong? Right. So in the mindset, it's like whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
Yes.
Right. When you want something bad enough, it's that what you focus on the most will always come to pass. So the mindset, if if I'm looking at that pineapple and I want that pineapple, or I can't even do that right now. And I'm having a hard time making metaphors, and I
Yeah.
speak metaphorically
Yeah.
all the time. So, but it was like that. If my mindset kept me out of a life of hell. It also got me out of a self-fulfilled gutter. Your mindset can make you or break you. So whether you think you can or can't, you're right.
Mm.
The next comes oxygen. People don't breathe. We live in a world full of stress, and we have for a long time. This isn't nobody's first go around, but people don't breathe, right? So breathing calms you down. It fills the oxygen within your body. You can accomplish a lot because a lot of people, if you're high strung, if you have a stressful life, you're on the go, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're mad, you're yelling, you're screaming, you're doing that, but nobody's breathing.
Yeah.
And I know friends, I come across a few ladies in the last, say, 5 years, they have a watch that tells them when to breathe. And I'm like, okay, think, think there's a problem here.
Yeah, that external. So before you go on to the next, do you have a breathing strategy that either you love or you love to share with others to either calm down or de-stress or whatever it is? I have a
There,
few myself, so
yeah, so there's so many tools for teaching somebody how to breathe online. It's crazy. And you can go from like right down here at the bottom to all the way at the top, and they're all different. The thing that I started out with was in fours. Count to four, breathe in, count to four, hold it, count to four, breathe out, count to four, right?
I've learned
And
that
it,
as box breathing. That's what it's called for me because it's
okay,
box.
I did that for years. Then somebody came along and taught me how to breathe.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was the most painful thing I'd ever experienced in my whole life. It hurt. There was no four in there. There was no four. And but it taught me how to breathe. And the idea was that like you do this for 20 minutes a day and it completely changes your life. And it did. So the breathing that I learned after the whole four thing was that you lay on your back and you put your knees up. You breathe in with your from your belly, right? You breathe right in to as much as you can possibly take. And when you think you can't take any more, go a little bit more. Then hold it, not for too long, and roll it out like a wave. And breathe it all the way out till you can't breathe anymore. And when you think you've got nothing left, push out a little bit more,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And do that. And so 20, that hurt me. That was physically painful.
Yeah.
And then the whole 20-minute thing, I put that into practice after a bit. And oh my God, I used to run around. You've been to my Fair Road property, Scott, years ago?
Yeah.
I used to run around that property because I worked it. So it was like 3.5 acres. I did all the gardening. I did all the work on that property. It was nuts. And I would run around and do all of this stuff. I had an addiction to the oxygen. It was insane. I couldn't get enough air. I was like, oh my God, this is exciting.
I know I was seeing a trauma therapist for a while and just on Zoom. And even on Zoom, she'd be every once in a while, can you breathe, please?
Yeah,
They
right?
touch
I
that.
would stop breathing.
Yeah.
And I still, it isn't that great now, but it's better than it was.
Oh, but something happened.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. You just work it out of your body. That's what body work is all about. It works all that trauma out of your body,
Yeah.
right? That was one of my saving graces when I started doing therapy. I went with a counselor in the middle. We'd talk about whatever. There was something that I was needing to bring up. She put me onto that particular therapist who dealt with that situation, and I'd go to them. And then they sent me to different kinds of body healing to take all of that out. It was amazing. That's
Yeah.
well, it's amazing.
We've talked about that before, that whole the trauma that you've experienced and what trauma does to you in regards to you're scared, so you're holding your breath and you're breathing faster. And so when you develop that over time, over and over and over, especially if you're young, it becomes just a part of you. So yeah, I think that's one of the
Well,
things we discussed about Scott, because Scott has quick, shallower breathing. So yeah.
not only that, it's like after dealing with my trauma for a while and doing the research that I've done, it's like 75% of people with trauma medicate themselves with drugs and alcohol.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a crazy statistic. And
Oh,
it's,
it's a massive.
yeah.
It's massive.
And that's probably
Yeah.
putting it light.
Yeah.
Uh, when you talk about like the oxygen and hydration, nutrition, and mindset, that's kind of like our belief of what we've learned recent, like brain health first. Because
Yeah.
without brain health, we're lost.
Yeah.
And it's like
100%.
you were talking mindset. Do you remember on the beach how devastated and blown I was, and that you weren't convincing me of anything, that my mindset was so negative that it was just like, and with a little bit of help and a little bit of work, it completely shifts around. And that's why we do the podcast, is to let people know that people can change and life gets better.
It does. Didn't we do the breathing
I, th-
on the beach? We
I
did.
think I think so.
Yeah. Hydrate. So your body is made up of 60% water. People don't drink. They don't drink. You know, they'll drink alcohol, they'll drink coffee, they drink pop, they drink whatever's on the market. Like
Yeah.
there's crazy things out there in the market to drink. I don't even know.
I was in
Right?
the
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
in the
yeah.
store the other day. You could get 2 cans of Red Bull cheaper than you
Kind
could
of,
get a bottle of water.
yeah, that's
Is
crazy.
that not? So in our previous talks, you've been talking about exploring your genetics.
Mm.
Oh,
What led you
yeah.
on to deepening into that
Oh.
area?
Mm.
So about a year ago now, actually, I come home from camp and I was working in a logging camp and I felt like crap. Like I was tired. I couldn't stay awake. I was miserable, angry. Oh my God. Um, and my body, it hurt. It hurt so bad. My muscle felt like it was, I don't know, burning, evaporating or something. It was horrible. And when you keep growing, and after a while you can't put up with the old bullshit.
Yeah,
Well, there's too much bullshit. I'm just like, you guys are no, this is too much for me, right? And I can't handle it. It doesn't come out of my mouth properly. I'm not very diplomatic.
you don't need to be diplomatic on our show.
Telling it like it is.
Anyway,
Reality.
I left, I come home, but one of the guys on that crew was a real health guy. He was in his mid 50s. He looked like an athlete. He had the body of an athlete. These were heli fallers, right? And he in their mid 50s. And he worked out all the time. And not like you think, wasn't pumping iron and stuff. He had the rope that he would stretch with, the elastic rope that he would stretch his legs with. Like he'd been in some bad accidents. He'd been beat up, like in the bush, right? And he healed himself up every time. But the good healthy guys, they have a health regime, right? They've got their eggs, their poached eggs, they have their shakes, you know, their water, and they have all of this healthy stuff. And I was sitting one day and I said, I feel like my body is dying, like literally. And he went and I took a picture. He lined all his stuff up for me. I took a picture of it and I said, when I come to town, I'm going to start looking into this stuff. I didn't know anything about it.
Mhm.
And he gave me one of his his powder things, right? Well, I drank my water bottle with that powder thing and oh my God, I absorbed it. I'm like, I want to go drink gallons of it, right? I knew where it was. I know where his room is. I know he'd let me do it, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I would just, is he going to offer me more? But I started chatting him up, and he was more than happy to tell me all of this stuff. And then he told me about some of the accidents and the recoveries that he was doing and why like those exercises are minimal, but they're pivotal,
Mhm.
right? I'm like, oh my God. So when I came home, I actually stopped on stores on the way down to see if I could find this stuff, right? I didn't know. I had no idea what it meant. I just know what the acronym said. So as I started researching that, I found some people online and I started following them. And that it was like the beginning of the end for me, right? I'm like, oh my God, what is
Down
this?
the
Oh my
rabbit
God, what
hole.
is this? Right?
Yeah.
And so I already have my DNA. I went and got it done twice, right? Because one, I couldn't do anything with it. I couldn't take it any further than the information I received. So I went and got another DNA done so I could expand on that. Well, that's old now. But all of this stuff, I followed Gary Brecka. I learned from Gary Brecka. And it was like the beginning, right? I'd never heard of any of this stuff before, but he's a biologist.
Oh.
And so I thought, well, I'm going to find some doctors, right? So I just jumped in both feet, learned what these things were that he's talking about, learned what the stuff was that the guy I knew was talking about, and I just went hair straight back and showed the paperwork to my doctor, right? And asked her all these questions and told her a lot of stuff. So that's how we mix and match now, right? So the genetic thing with with hereditary, like there's all kinds of hereditary, they call them hereditary diseases. They're not.
No,
They're
I
not.
was just going
No.
to say no. That's a big
No. I'm like, are you kidding me? And so
lifestyle choices.
huge. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wrote that down too.
Yeah.
So it is. It's total lifestyle, but the genetics themselves. So we have breaks in our genetics, right? And nowadays we have lots because our nutrition doesn't matter if you get it organic or not, it sucks. The
Mm.
soil suck, the rain sucks, everything sucks. So we're not able to ingest the nutrition that we actually need, right? The amount of nutrients that we would actually need. So hence the supplements. Yeah. We're all supplementing, right? Most people take vitamins. Well, everybody's got that drawer full of vitamins that they don't take. And so me too. I've got that drawer. And like I said, I made lots of mistakes. But then I started finding out what vitamins and minerals I needed for my body. And once I found that out, I'm like, God, oh my God.
Yeah, and you said you're kind of experiment on on yourself. So you had tried certain supplements and they didn't really work, so you
Oh.
did something else. Yeah.
I overdosed on vitamin B.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
overdosed on B12. So I took I understood where my genetics lied, right?
Yeah.
So I understood it was B12. So I went and got, there was like 5,000, whatever that measurement was, of B12. And then I went and got a B complex, of methylated B complex, thinking I'm doing the right thing, right? So I had a ton of vitamin B's in me, right? So I shot up. There was no doubt about that. But after a while, I was uh it wasn't working out very well.
Like an OD on methyl B.
Right?
I did.
So people kept telling me you can't overdose on vitamin B. Well, okay, great. So I'm just like hair straight
Bring it
back,
in.
right? Bring it on. And then I'm going through this thing and I'm like, yeah, I don't think something's not right here. It's not right. So into the doctor I go and we take another bunch of blood tests and when they come in, she was the most diplomatic person I think I've ever come across. And just stop the vitamin B, she says. And it was such a nice way that it stood out to me. I mean, people talk diplomatic to me all the time, but I know. But she said it in such a way, I almost started to laugh. I'm like, you said that very well,
There you
right?
go. And
And
that's the crazy thing nowadays though, Faye, is that we're learn like the amount it feels like the amount of information we're learning is coming at us quite quickly, and the amount of information or the type of information that we can get is also very quick. Like,
it
you
is.
can chat
Yeah.
GPT anything. So like with knowing all that and reminding us that we are all learning and we only can do better when we know better, right? So we keep
Yeah.
learning and keep learning. So in all of that growth, how do you kind of keep the hope, the motivation, sort of the clarity on where you're going and your growth,
Mm.
especially through the tough times like too much meth will be.
So I wrote some stuff out that would help me. And I said that sometimes it's difficult to be grateful or experience gratitude, like in tough times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. But something I come to believe and often say out loud is God loves me. And I say that because I can think of a million saving graces. Like in my life was haywire. There's no way around that part. And there is a million of those saving graces. And I've come to learn that when certain doors close, some better windows open, right? And
Right.
and I'm alive. I'm literally alive. I'm like, how did that even happen?
Mhm.
Multiple occasions. How did that even happen? Right?
Yeah.
So, depending on the direction of my life, like depending on the direction and where my life is going and what level of pain it's at, or discomfort, I mean, there's a big level there. But things aren't like they were before. Like they're not massive. My life's not like that. And it hasn't been like that for a long time. Although I can go down in like 5 years ago, my life was heading in that direction. I had a bunch of things all happen all at the same time, and I hit the ground. I dropped. I literally dropped. I thought, oh my God, I'm done. How I got through that part 5 years ago, it was too much, and I was literally finished. I was finished. And I didn't even have enough energy in me to stand up. So that's when I ended up going head on into coaching.
Mm.
That's when all of that came about, right? It just like dropped right in my lap. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Really? So I went head on into it because I am built like that. You find that thing that feeds you basically, whatever does that for me. And I just go head on into it. And the things that I was learning was tenfold. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's like taking everything I ever learned in my life that was good, like all the therapy, everything, and wrapped it all up in a nice box and put a big bow around it. I thought this was the icing on the cake. Like, oh my God. It was not easy. Like a lot of things are simple in life, they are not easy, right? Like there was a couple gut kickers in there. Dropped me for a few days. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. I can see. I can see. So those things, that's what I fall back on now. It's I analyze them, right? So we were talking about values the other day.
Yeah.
When life's going for shit, it's not in the direction that you're going in. There's a couple of things. You're putting people before your own values, right? You're putting everything before your own needs. So, what was the little thing that I wrote? Am I thinking more about what something means in condemnation or solution to reroute? So, which way am I thinking,
Mm.
right? Am I sitting there putting myself down, or am I coming up with a solution? How can I turn this around? I put those out. If I write, I write on everything. Napkins, I've got napkins all over this house that I've written on, right? So I write things down. If I write them out on a one piece of paper, wrote down what was going on and did all of that with it, you can see it's so easy to see. When you see something, you can change it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
You
100%.
start you start making up your own rules.
100%. I love how you process through things by writing. That's really an awesome way of looking at it. And I think you were talking about kind of doing things to fill yourself so you can help other people, or re-looking at your choices or your values. And that was kind of one thing I actually heard recently on a post was you technically can only help other people when you are full.
Oh,
So it's the overflow that
yeah.
is going to help other people. So it sounds selfish, and a lot of people say it's selfish. You take care of yourself. And it's like, no, that's
I,
when you can really show up for other people. Yeah, you can't
I
give from an empty container.
I
no.
got
Yeah.
told something by a wise man once. It was about hopes, dreams, and goals, and he asked me what my top hope or dream was, and I said I wanted a partner. And he goes to me, "What are you going to say to her when you wake up in the morning?" I'm like, "I'll roll over and say, 'Hey, babe, I love you.'" And he goes, "Why don't you one up it?" And it's like in my brain, I'm thinking, "How can you one up that?" He goes, "Why don't you roll over and go, 'Hey, babe, how can I love you today?'"
Yeah. I
And
saw that
get
you wrote. That was beautiful.
and get taught how to love, because
Right?
what I know about love is I'll give you something to cry about. Like that's where I come
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So having a mutual place of respect
Yeah.
so we can
Right? Isn't that
learn
like
it.
it's communication?
Yep.
Yeah.
Literally
100%.
And
communication.
it is comfortable to be in your comfort zone and scary to be out of it, which is, I think, why shifts are sometimes difficult for many people, and they just say they're doing fine.
Yeah, that's the worst word. It's ridiculous, that word.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Right? We
Yeah,
have, you know,
that's
we
the big thing. That's right. That the choices on how we react are
yeah.
ours and ours only. How
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
we are proactive in our reaction, I guess, is the key. But so Faye, so you are a practicing, I want to get the right word,
Reflexologist.
reflexologist. So where can people get a hold of you?
Oh, I am
Yes.
at the Purely Wellness Clinic in Duncan on Vancouver Island.
Perfect, perfect. So we will definitely include that in all the details. And thank you very much,
Thanks, Faye.
Faye. We
Thank you.
appreciate your gifts. We appreciate your thoughts. We appreciate your positive energy to move forward. And
Look forward to doing this with you again after we
yeah,
do our values.
values. I'm excited
Yeah,
to
I'm
do
I'm
that.
excited about that. All a good time. Thank you so much, both of you, Scott and
Thank
Lisa.
you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Faye. Appreciate it very, very much.
Rest of our